Hey everyone, I hope you are all having a fantastic day. I have had some comments in my YouTube videos with folks asking me if I can walk you through my process for layering, which I've done, but getting sort of back into the acrylic painting, which is, I would say that is that and drawing are my two favorite things, and I just haven't taken the time to really practice my painting other than really small in my art studio. So I'm in my kitchen because there's more room, and I've taped some parchment paper or waxy craft paper to the wall and taped some acrylic paper to that. So I've got 6 sheets of acrylic paper. I'm using Strathmore acrylic paper. It's got a linen finish, and this is what I like practicing on because the linen finish to me is similar to a canvas. So I'm going to walk you through how I practice layers and create layers in paintings. Additionally, the other thing I wanted to cover was I've had a lot of comments from people about the layering process and how frustrating it is. And it is super frustrating. And that's why I find taping 6 pieces of paper to the wall and just practicing on it really helps sort of speed up the process. So today's video is just basically showing you how I practice and how this is one of my favorite things. You just get the music that you love, your playlist, and you play your music and you start painting and playing. It helps you with color mixing. It helps you with discovering your own style. It helps you practice what you've seen or what you admire from other artists. There's so many artists that I've watched on YouTube or discovered on Instagram or wherever. And you pick up little bits and pieces of what their process is, and you see how you can apply that to your process. And over time, you discover what you like and what you don't like. You discover the colors you like, you discover the techniques you like, and you also get better at layering, which is one of the hardest things to do. I want to share my process and how practicing helps me. I find it super helpful to have 6 or more, pieces of paper taped to your wall, and you move from one to the next. And I think it really increases that learning curve and that comfort, like leaning into the discomfort of creating from within and not knowing what's going to come out onto the paper. That is just a big one, I think, for people. But also becoming comfortable with layering and finding out what works and what doesn't work and what you like and what you don't like. When you have 6 pieces of paper, usually you will have one that you like at the end and maybe a few that you don't, but you really will, when you save them and look at them later, figure out what you liked, what you didn't like, the colors you like, the marks you like. Just helps speed up the process when layering, creating intuitively, and just sort of an abstracted look. You just become more confident and discover your own art style. So I'm going to flip the camera over. I'm going to show you my setup, and we're going to jump in and get started, and I hope you join me. I have chosen to start, sorry, my floor squeaks. Okay. I have chosen a few things to begin with. One thing that I like all the time whenever I'm using acrylic paint is I start with a gesso, which is a nice chalky texture that sort of binds to the paper and helps your paint just sort of adhere and stay adhered. The other thing is I have my Woody Stabilo pencils, and I have these Neocolor crayons by Caran, and these are for mark making and lines and just sort of getting your white page filled with color, and so you're not staring at a blank page. I don't want to stare at a blank page. The other thing I have is I have a brayer or brayer, I don't know what you call this. This is a roller for making sort of messy paint marks. I have this this for scratching and making marks on my canvas, and I just have different sizes and styles of paintbrushes. I don't know if I'm going to use all of this, but I know I'm definitely going to start with some mark making and gesso. The other thing is you can use whatever kind of paper you want. I'm just using acrylic paper because that's my favorite. And I've chosen just a few colors, and I'm just going to see what happens. The first step in my process is the Woody Stabilos. You can use a colored pencil, you can use a marker, you can use whatever you have on hand. I like the Stabilos. And I also like, and if I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry, I also like these Neocolors. They're both water soluble, which is kind of nice when you add the gesso. Sometimes I'll actually add paint to the gesso to create a color. But I love this blue color, so it's just, you're just mark making and doing whatever you like. And remember, you have 6 separate pages, so it makes it kind of fun. You could play with whatever colors you want. And this, because you're doing layers, this is eventually going to be covered up. So you can even write words if you want to. You can write like process, which is boring, but you can write love. You can write like whatever you feel like writing. You can write whatever shapes you want to have. It doesn't matter, because this is going to be covered up. It's really just a fun way to let go and loosen up before you actually start painting. Sometimes I think it's really important to do a little mark making before you even start drawing anyway, because it really helps you loosen up your process, and you just become more comfortable with it when you finally do get started. So for me, this is enough. I'm going to get my gesso, and I'm then going to add it to the pages. Now I have this Liquitex Basics acrylics gesso. It's just, it actually, I've had this forever, and it kind of gets gunky at the top, but that's fine. I just pour it in a dish that I have especially for painting, that I keep under my sink. And I just grab a paintbrush. I'm trying to keep all my supplies here so I don't have to keep going in front of the camera. Okay. All right. I grab a paintbrush. I like to use old paintbrushes with the gesso, and all you're doing is prepping your pages. And I really like the effect of having marks underneath before I even begin. When you add the gesso, you're letting go. You're letting go of these marks that you made. So you're already at the beginning of the process of letting go. You made some marks, and now you're going to cover them. You're just loosening up and prepping your pages. Now I don't do the whole corners. This is just for practice. I mean, I could do the whole corners, doesn't matter. This is my setup. I've chosen a few colors. I've got my paintbrushes, and now I'm going to begin adding color to these pages. And that's when you just start having fun mixing your colors and playing around. And that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking as much as you can observe and watch and see how I lay down the marks. This is what my palette looks like now. My water's a little bit messy, but I really love the way that the colors look on the page and everything's mixed together. I'm letting it dry, and then I think I might do a little more mark making, either with just paint or some of the woody stabilos that I have, and just sort of see what comes out. So now that I have these colors on the way I like them, I want to stop and take a minute and do some smaller mark making. I want to thank you for joining me. I'm going to give you a close-up in a moment. I did want to mention that I'm going to stop here because I'm quite comfortable with how everything looks. I'm pretty happy with the colors I chose. One of the things I'm learning is to try to choose your colors before you start painting. I try to limit my palette, but I bring in some black and white so I can mix it with the colors. I love how the pink and yellow mixed. I love all these patterns and shapes. I feel like if I continue going, I'm going to overwork it. What I'm going to do is leave this for a week or so, and I leave it in my kitchen, which is the best thing to do because you can see it in different light. You can walk by it different times of day, and over the course of the week really determine what you like or what you don't like. And I'm happy that this is going to be here for the next week or so and let it dry. I'm going to give you a close-up, but I do want to ask you if you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments. Choosing your colors, just choose the colors that you love and see what happens. Practice mixing it, see what happens, play around with different shapes and patterns. I do love a lot of texture, so I get my hands in there. I add a little bit of water to the acrylic paint to give it sort of make it more mixable, and I'm able to sort of smudge things together. I'm really excited to see how this is going to turn out. I don't think I'm going to leave it like this. I'm probably going to add some gold and silver to it. Maybe some sparkles, I'm not sure. But I'm gonna do a close-up, and I want to thank you so much for joining me. And I did want to mention the reason why you watch me paint, but I'm not talking throughout it, is because I think when you're creating, you don't want to be pulled out of this experience where you're taking stuff in and then putting stuff out. If I'm talking the whole time while I'm painting, I'm constantly taken out of this magical place of creating. And I like listening to my relaxing music and just letting everything come out. And I don't know, there's something really special about the sort of tactile and the holding your paintbrushes and the picking your colors and mixing things and making, sort of a mess. None of this makes sense, but honestly, just looking at the patterns and the colors, it makes me so happy, especially this sort of orange and this pinky orange color and the blue. I personally, it was such a wonderful experience to paint this. I haven't done it in so long. I think I'm gonna continue on. If you have questions, please leave a comment. We will continue on with this next week once I've had time to sort of process it all, take it all in, and walk by it about 100 times. So let's give you a close-up. This is IKEA container, holds all my paints, and then I have this old tray that I got at the thrift store. And I just find it, now I can do videos in my kitchen of painting, because the last time I'd have to walk by at my kitchen table and block the view. These are the paintings. The sun it's about to set. I am loving all these colors and marks and seeing what's in here. My floor is just going to squeak the whole time, but that's okay. Well, I think because the sun is basically starting to set, you're not going to get a great view of it unless I really, really back out and show you. But I really want to thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you have any questions, like I said, let me know. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thanks so much for joining me.